Good morning, humanity. It's December 5th, 2022, and it's the favorite time of our week because it's Mondays with Bev and Paul. Hi, everybody. My name's Paul.
Oh, good morning. This is Bev.
Good morning, Bev, and welcome
Morning,
to
Paul.
December.
Whoa, my goodness.
Yes, sirree.
Countdown.
Yeah, countdown, and we want to say thank you to all the gods and blessings of rain that Tucson and the area had for the past 2 days. We haven't seen the
I know.
sun. Haven't
Oh,
seen the
boy.
sun. Doesn't happen in Tucson.
Things are changing.
Things are changing. And we're going to change. We're going to talk about who the individual is in biotouch. This should be fun. Uh, Who is the individual? Are we really an individual? How does BioTouch help us come to an awareness who the individual is in relationship to the so called other? And let's just start this out because our manual, right from the beginning, talks about this. And
Yep.
because we don't use the idea of practitioner or, healer that we call in the manual the associate. And as it says here, we use the definition in the dictionary. It says an associate is one often in company with another, implying intimacy or equality, and two, one having an interest in common with another. So, who is this other?
Yeah, the word that really always sticks out for me is that word equality.
Yes.
And that's a thought that's resounded through all of our history, right? Back and forth. And when we remember when we think about that equality, it brings us immediately into the thought of a relationship. Two people entering into a relationship, equally giving and receiving. Well, I think we've just described practicing biotouch.
Right. Right. And so, I was just listening to something and they talked about, do you think you're an individual? But are you really? Because
Right.
you have the same emotional makeup, the same consciousness as the person, the so called person next to you. And boy, did I ever learn that when I was in Egypt, about
Mm.
the, how we're all the same. We all have the same fears. We have the same loneliness, the same desire to be to reclaim our birthright to be happy, healthy, and loved. When I was in Egypt, and they were calling in a different language, they all had the same pains and fears and desire to be healed. And it really whacked it into me how, we're not as separate as we think we are.
Well, just in saying that, humanity comprises one great kingdom or center on this planet. And all of us comprise a group center, just like the animal kingdom or the vegetable kingdom. This is not esoteric information. This is out there for anybody. Humanity is one group, maybe individualized in a sense that each of us are on our own what arc of experience, but from where we came and where we're going is the same place. And we always say in biotouch, as the Dalai Lama said, if you want to see the connectedness between humanity, just look at a body. Our bodies may look different, but they're comprised of the same exact components.
Right. Right.
And we're all here for the same reason, believe it or not.
Yeah.
So
That's right.
what we have been programmed to believe, this is the big lie I always think, to believe that we are an individual just bumping around in the planet. What's my purpose? What do I do? This whole last age has separated us through fear, through the misuse of authority, and we've all bought into it. But I'm telling you, we're at a crisis point in our history.
And
And what we're doing is we're going through this last 2100 years of believing that we are separated from each other, and that's where that I comes in. But this new age, and everybody knows it's called the Aquarian age, da da da. The keynote is group consciousness,
right.
awareness that you are not an individual, never have been in the true sense of the word. So we've been operating under, and I have told you, and I believe this, we've talked about this. BioTouch is one of the great gifts that is here to help us to anchor back into the truth about who we are.
You know, and it reminds me in the very beginning when we started the public awareness of BioTouch, the particular thing we call BioTouch now that came through Norman, reawakened through Norman's probably a better
Right.
idea. And we had that ex-CIA agent in that very first certification class who said, you know, never ever have I ever seen a revolution as powerful as what was happening at that time. He says, because this revolution is based on love. And that's the power here that you're talking about right
It
now.
is. And revolution is a key word for this new age. The new age is all about um, a revolution to change the old paradigms, which we see every day are breaking down.
Right.
This is the way of life. But this new dispensation that's coming in called the Aquarian, the keynote is love and brotherhood, altruism, group. That old way of being this is part of the rocking and rolling here because we are all going, oh.
And that's why we're so into BioTouch, because there's nothing simpler that breaks down the chasms between these individuals as taking the two fingers, which we all have unless you've had an accident, you know, and reaching out and touching another human being. Another human being. So much in the healing world we hear all the time when we're teaching a class. Can I work on myself? It's
Right.
always the first question.
Always, always.
Always. You know, and it's like we're here to say, no, no longer. You know, this is about relationship. Healing is about relationship. And it's so simple and non invasive to take those two fingers, touch someone just below the breastbone, lightly like a butterfly. Take those same two fingers, touch just to the left of the big bone at the base of the neck, and all for 6 to 8 seconds. That's a 15, 16 seconds to do the greeting, which I know my experience as a so-called individual over all these 35 years or so brings me into relationship with people regardless of belief system. It equalizes me and the so-called other. That I can have anger, I can be pissed off, I'm not an all kind loving person, I might be worried about what I'm going to have for lunch or dinner, but you know, that breaks down all that chitter chatter and lets me just be in presence with someone.
BioTouch is about growing up. I hate to say this, but that little thought about being an individualized ego, that little personality thing that goes on, that's a childlike thought. When you start entering into a more expanded and inclusive living your life, you are stepping into more wisdom. So BioTouch says, I'm sorry, little person, but you cannot do this on yourself. If you really want to heal, you're going to have to step into a relationship with another brother or sister.
Right.
Sorry about that. It's time to stop this little me stuff.
And that really helps us break down the fact that we're a healer, that we're not really doing anything, you know, that you don't have,
Right.
there's no intention. You know, intention right. really is about the ego too. Like, who am I to know what you need? I,
Right.
it always sort of made no sense to me. I can't know your needs. I can't know your so-called direction except in myself. And the beauty we always say it's about what's the keynote of BioTouch? Self-awareness. An awareness of ourself in relationship to our surrounding. All we can know is ourself. And when we come to know that, we finally start waking up to our surroundings. And how can we not love our surroundings and everything in it?
Well, the other part of that is it's not my responsibility for one thing. And as you said, I don't, it's not your, whatever you are, that's growth of self-awareness for you is not about me. Except that in your self-awareness, you begin to understand that we are a we,
So,
or not a I.
so that's funny. That reminds me in Deborah's book, right? So we always talk about self-awareness. Her very first week, she's working with people in the center. Her greatest disgust in life is feet. She,
I know.
if you talk to Deborah about feet,
Oh,
she
yeah.
like cringes.
Right.
And
Ew.
she writes that in the book. So who's the first one of the first people she has to work on is this
Yes.
guy who had feet problems. And so it's like,
Go figure.
yeah, it's like, okay,
Oh.
who comes to us to get help? Obviously, things we need to learn. It's
That's
our
right.
self-awareness. And
That's right.
as soon as she worked it out in herself, the guy disappeared.
Yep. Yep.
Disappeared.
Yep. Yeah, I've heard you say many times, whoever comes through that door is for you.
Right?
This is about your self-awareness. And people are like, yeah, but you're the associate. Yep. This is that reprogramming of beginning to think outside of the I box.
Right.
Starting to understand how about this? Do unto others as you would do unto yourself. That's an old axiom that was given by a great being that came, that's been here. And that means, to me, this is what BioTouch is capable of giving us the opportunity to do unto others, because once you reach out and touch another human being with BioTouch, you are giving them exactly what you are needing yourself. It's perfect.
And it goes
Yes,
round
that
and round.
circle, that great circle, right?
And we talk about that all the time, that we are healed as the so-called recipient that we're working with is healed. We go
Right.
through their joy, we go through their pain, we go through their laughter, we go, and it just sort of keeps going up and up and up and up, and pretty soon you start realizing your surroundings starts to be healing.
Yeah,
It really,
absolutely.
it's profound, folks. It's profound because it's so simple. This concept of oneness of humanity or loving the neighbor does not have to be difficult. And if it
No.
is, if it's a thought about it, that's just more ego thought. You can't think love of another human being. You can't. It doesn't work. This bypasses the thought process.
Right.
It just
We've
overrides the thought.
Yeah, that's interesting, because I've actually been working with people, in the rooms when when we used to do our workshops, and I remember a couple of ladies, and the first thing that one of them, and they were both body workers, one of them says to the other, "How was that for you? Did I, what are you feeling? Did you feel this, or did I do enough?" And all that stuff, right? And I thought to myself, oh, isn't that interesting? And I said to them, when you start really, if you're going to integrate BioTouch into your practice, you're going to realize that you don't need to ask those questions anymore. There's no, and they both looked at me. I said, that's just a little ego. That's just the me in all of us going, did I do enough? Am I special? How did I do? This glamour that we all want to stuff into ourselves. I can do this to you.
Right.
This is why I say when we work together, and we're working with each other. I'm not working on anybody.
Right. With.
You know what I'm saying? It's just
Yes.
that
It's just that little word. I mean, it's
that
just a
little
different
word, and it opens us up to Well, when we say I'm working with someone, that implies equality in a relationship right there.
Right.
We work together. Beautiful people. We're here to work together.
Tutu, tutu, isn't there a song? I can't remember.
Yeah,
There's a song
yeah,
somewhere.
yeah.
Together,
And
all
again,
together now, do,
all
do, do.
together now. And this is all that new age Aquarian thinking, but
Right.
it's true. It's time for us to let go, and it's scary. Letting go of that little self sometimes, that little ego, right? That me.
Right. Who am I if I'm not if
Right,
I'm not my judgments? I
right.
did a practice once, and that was just it. When I forgave myself for all my judgments, I recognized I didn't even exist. So
Right.
I am only who I am because of all my judgments. And so BioTouch has really helped me get rid of judgments. I
Oh
mean, I
yeah.
used to have judgments about the medical system and this system, and oh my God, don't get the operation,
That why you
don't take the
dropped out?
medication. Yeah, but BioTouch has helped me say, something, whatever medication you're taking, whatever you're doing, take a vaccine, don't take a vaccine, put on a
Right.
mask, don't put on a mask. Doesn't matter. That's up to every person to decide because I want to see beyond all that stuff. And BioTouch has helped me do
Yeah.
that.
That's an interesting thought because I've often thought when two people somewhere right in the center of that practicing biotouch is a point of peace,
Yes.
a point of I'm neither you, there's neither you or I.
The golden
There's just
thread.
a we honoring each other in that moment. That is when real healing can take place, Paul. And you know that. You've seen that.
So it's like those little things we used to play on our toes. This little piggy went here, and this little piggy went wee 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 all the way
Oh,
home. That's what it's about, folks. Play
we're
with the
going home.
Play with the little pinky on your toe. Wee, 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 all the way home. So we're here to help make sure that you want to learn BioTouch. We have fun doing it. We have our health condition workshop is coming up this Thursday. It's on menstrual cramps. And we are honored to have Paula Taylor, who has had her fair share of menstrual cramps. And
She is an authority.
yes, and just had a huge endometriosis hysterectomy. I mean, we'll get to hear her story. Amazing
Yeah.
story. Has some great information. Of course, we'll teach you what BioTouch sets of points you can do to help someone who gets menstrual cramps and it bothers them. And also this Saturday is our next practitioner training. We already have a few people signed up, so join us if you can. We're closing registration here in a couple days. That's 9 to 4:30 Arizona time. Just go to the website justtouch.com. Remember, massage therapists, doulas, and nurses can get continuing ed credits for that. So, when we understand the we, these two parts of the screen, this thing we call Bev and Paul, will be stuck right in the middle of that line there. If you can see it on
Right in the middle.
right in the middle. Who is who? Am I Bev or am I Paul?
Am I Paul or am I Bev?
There we go. We love sharing BioTouch with you. Thank you, Bev, for that
Thank you, Paul.
inspiring little discussion there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And thank you all for joining us. If you have any comments, leave them there. If you have any questions, if you want us to talk about anything on these shows, hey, let us know. We're here every Monday to share BioTouch with you. So until next week, thank you, everybody.
Have a great week.
If pain has got you down and you live in town, take a trip down to Pima Street. The people down there are people who care. They will get you back on your feet. Put love into action. Put love into action. If you ever want to have any real satisfaction, choose love while you still can. Don't even try to understand. A healing grace in your own hands. Put love into action.